Introduce
Brian
ourselves.
Aaron, commission member.
Mike Petrosky, Pause and Clause.
Shane Burkhart, commission member.
Lee Tall, commission member.
Joe Terry, Secretary.
Tom Rayon, 4th District Alderman.
Dale Carlson.
Jamie White, Storage Unlimited.
All right, thank you all for being here. We'll move into our agenda. Item number 1, approval of the reports from the January 8th, January 15th, and February 19th Planning Commission meetings. Commissioners, what are your wishes regarding the reports from all those meetings that we've held?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Tal, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Aaron. Any additions or corrections to the reports? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. No items listed underneath number 2, which is maps or plats received, so move into item number 3, which is a public hearing on Plan 180094 Storage Unlimited LLC. The applicant is requesting a conditional use to allow the construction of self-storage units within the B2 General Commercial District. The subject property is located at 2710 West Grand Avenue. With that, I will open the public hearing. There's not a lot of people here, so it'll be fairly informal with our public hearing, but generally anybody wishing to speak in favor or against, I guess, at this stage of the request. I guess, Jamie, you're here probably representing the applicant, I'm assuming?
In favor.
So you're in favor of it. I do want to maybe speak a little bit about the request, and then we'll go into anybody else following you.
Sure. So we had previously gotten approved for 2 buildings, and ended up that there was some issues that we ran into with wetlands along West Grand. I guess we didn't realize that there were any wetlands, and so we really tabled the project for quite a while trying to decide what to do. And so recently we picked it back up again, and we are getting requests from customers for this area. So we decided to just do a layout for the entire piece, and keeping in mind that if there is a, what do they call it, a better use for the property in the future, that we're open. But at this point, we would continue as planned if nothing else. We have no, this is probably a 10 or 15-year project. The first 2 would happen within a shorter period of time, and then the rest would be a proposal for future, so that we can move forward with the stormwater management plan and the DNR and everything that's involved.
To answer the question I think I had. Commissioners, I guess we're still in public hearing, so I'll go to anyone else wishing to speak in favor or opposition, or speak about the request. And for the third and final time, anyone else wishing to speak for or against the request? With that, I will close the public hearing at 4:03, and we'll move into action, and we'll have some more discussion on plan, item number 4, action on Plan 180094 Storage Unlimited LLC, conditional use within the B2 General Commercial District to allow self-storage units. So commissioners, at this time, I open the floor for any questions or discussion, or even a motion for that. I guess, first thing for me, I was curious on the time frame, what you were thinking from a build-out. A concern or just a question is, you addressed it, and that was, what is the future demand for that property? And being that it fronts a state highway and a road, and has a railroad on the backside, and I know there's some wetlands, so railroad access is sometimes a premium. I'm not sure how feasible it would be to get a spur access in here, but that would be the only thing I would think about is, so you address that kind of with it being a long-range plan, and in a shorter period of time, I guess, what are you thinking on the 2 buildings, did you say? Did you say 2 to 3 years, maybe, within that time frame?
I would say probably 2 to 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. That's not really the only question I have or concern. Commissioner?
Nothing for me.
So I just wanted to review the conditions,
Oh, yeah.
the staff conditions that Adam had put together. Number 1, the subject property shall be developed in substantial conformance with the site and building plans submitted by the applicant dated February 12, 2018. Number 2, a landscaping plan for the frontage along West Grand Avenue consisting of berms, shrubs, and other plantings shall be submitted for review and approval by city staff prior to the issuance of a building permit. Landscaping shown on the approved plan shall be installed prior to the issuance of an occupancy permit for any building on site. Number 3, if signage is placed on the property, it shall be monument style. not exceed 100 square feet, and not exceed 15 feet in height. Number 4, all vehicle use and storage areas, including a minimum 24-foot wide access drive around all buildings, shall be paved in compliance with the zoning ordinance within 6 months of an occupancy permit. And number 5, compliance with all other applicable codes and ordinances.
Thanks, Joe.
Did I get a copy of that?
It should be right beyond the first page of the staff report. You should see the city logo in the upper left, and then page 2 of 2. Yep, after those, there it is, right on the second page after that, on the backside.
Recommendations and conditions. So that last one, vehicle use and storage areas, including a minimum 24-foot wide, shall be paved in compliance within 6 months of an occupancy permit. So if we're planning to do like a building in stages, how does that apply? Is it just around the building that we're doing?
Right, so before the occupancy permit, or before you could take occupancy in that building,
Oh, gotcha.
then that would be triggered, yeah.
That makes sense.
Okay. Any other questions, concerns, discussion? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
A motion by Aaron, is there a
I'll
second?
second.
Second by Burkhart. And move into a vote, subject to the recommended conditions, I would assume approved. All right, and your second is
Yes.
good with that? All right, we'll move into a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Item 5, public hearing on Plan 180106, pause and clause. The applicant is requesting a conditional use to allow for a commercial kennel with accessory uses within the B2 General Commercial District. Subject property is located at 1921 Baker Street. All right, so with that, I will open the public hearing and allow the requester, since he's in the room, to speak a little bit about your plan and proposed use.
Well, our plan and proposed use is not to change the building that much, except for the outside kennel part, which we discussed last week. We changed the model for that. I think you guys have a copy of that on that sheet there somewhere. Approximately 20 to 30 dogs a day is probably about our average. We'll be able to handle 50 dogs. That's strictly daycare and kennel. That isn't one or the other, so that's a combined between the two. And typically how it works is during the week there isn't a lot of kennel dogs because people are usually home. They're not gone on the weekends, or mostly on the weekends. Daycare dogs, you know, I'm pretty sure this is a pretty good market area, otherwise I wouldn't be looking over here, but I think we'll get, you know, an average of another 15 dogs a day maybe for daycare. We have a beautiful facility sitting there vacant. It works perfect for us. The boarding part of it, there will not be any dogs outside when we are not open, unsupervised. When we are there, the dogs are constantly under our care, so we don't have a problem with barking dogs. I know that's one of the main issues, simply because, you know, our dogs are pretty happy when they're there. They're playing a little bit, they might roughhouse a little, and you might hear a bark here and there, but no more than a neighbor that has 2 dogs or has dogs in their neighborhood. The grooming part of it, we're not going to have a staffed groomer right away. We will offer just baths and things like that, nail trims. So the grooming part of it's pretty simple. We're gonna try to grow the business around that part of it, and then eventually maybe get a professional groomer. In a nutshell, that's really it. I don't know. I guess I can touch on any points that somebody has problems with, but been in business for about 5 years in Wapaka. I brought some pictures and stuff. I could put it on the screen if you'd like. I offered our Facebook page and our website as well. We keep our facility very clean. Our dogs are very safe. Nobody's ever had any injuries. We don't have runaways. Everything is fenced and contained. That's about it.
Great, thank you. I'll move on to anyone else wishing to speak in favor or against, or ask questions, if there are any questions. third and final time. Anyone wishing to speak in favor or opposition to the request? Tom?
Just a question, I guess. I thought I probably had some here, reading this over before. Do you have a plan, or is there a plan for a residential use on the second floor?
Well,
That's in the thing I'm reading.
Yeah, as of right now, I have no plan for the residential part of it, but we are gonna try to get that approved. As far as I know, all the renovations to meet your requirements have been done, but we didn't, the owner, Travis, didn't follow through with the proper inspection yet. And I think your commercial inspector's gone through, but not the fire department, if I remember correctly. So I've got, I think it's Todd, is that Todd?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got to make an appointment with Todd to come and look at the rest of the facility. But there's currently residents in there that are going to be moving out as soon as I take over.
I was wondering that too, because I drove by.
Yeah, there is somebody living there. I guess it can be one or the other, right?
Right.
You can either have a resident,
It does
but not
require
both
separation.
until they get the inspection. So they'll be moving out sometime before the end of April, of what I understand. And then there won't be anybody living there while I'm open until we find that it's gonna be appropriate or pass all the inspections.
So it doesn't have an
Yeah.
occupancy permit today
No.
for that, but you will obviously call it.
And I can't even ask for that, I don't think, because we don't have the right inspections done yet, so.
With the fencing, is there gonna be any, or just, what type of fencing is it gonna be, I guess?
I have a picture of it, I don't know if it's easy
Yeah,
to.
we can pop it up if you,
I mean, it's just gonna be a non-see-through fence, so it'll be
I
wood.
guess that was the next question.
Yeah,
See-through.
and typically, in my experience, which I'll toot my horn a little bit, we understand how the dogs interact, and if they can't see anything, they're very quiet. I mean, they're gonna play, but if there was a chain link fence and people were walking by or cars would drive by, they're gonna bark at them, there's no question about it. But they will not be able to see outside the fence. And they're not gonna be huge areas, they're gonna be fairly small areas, two separate areas. One will be where the dogs will go out after they've spent the night in the kennels. And that's strictly just in the mornings probably, or in the evenings before they go in their kennel to go to sleep. Then during the day, they're gonna have access to a little outdoor area off of the gymnasium there. But yeah, they will not be able to see out.
It's been a long time since I've been in the building itself.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever had, is there enough room in there to have 50 dogs and people in there to work whatever they're doing and
Yeah, surprisingly,
to
50.
do that? It's been a long time, I've been in there, but it's been many years, so.
Surprisingly, 50 dogs doesn't take up as much room as you think, because probably 80 to 90% of them dogs can be together without any problems. There are problem dogs that some dogs just don't get along with other dogs, and then there's so much room in there. The building I'm in now is currently 7,500 square feet, and I have a pretty big shop area that takes up about 1,500 of that in the back. So the rest of it is segregated areas where we have big play areas, and then we have our kennel system. So very seldom does a dog naughty enough where they actually have to go to their kennel, so to speak, go to their room. Otherwise, they're either put in another small area with a dog we know they get along with, or something like that. So that's how they stay quiet. If it was once, it was 100 times, I had people come in and say, wow, you don't have any dogs today? And there'd be 25 dogs in my gym, and you don't even hear them, they're just.
Thank you for all the answers, I appreciate them. One question that went through my mind, maybe it was today even, you don't have any intention of turning this into that it'd be selling dogs or anything?
Oh, absolutely not. No, I have no interest in training or.
I didn't think so, but I
No,
went through my mind and had to ask the question.
that's a whole nother beast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the answers.
You bet.
okay. Third and final time, any final questions for the applicant or concerns regarding the proposed additional
I guess
use?
one question I had is staffing. Will there be somebody there all the time with the dogs?
No, well, unless we get the residential, permit, then probably what'll end up happening, if that ever would happen, maybe if I find, lucky enough to find a good person that wants to be my manager or a part-time manager, and they would live on hand. But typically, the way it works now is when we leave at between 6 and 6:30 in the evening, the dogs are put away in their kennels that are boarding. Now remember, that could, during the week, that might only be 4 dogs. On the weekend, now, right now, March, we're busy. I think we had 20 dogs last week. But that's not 20 separate kennels. I have one family of 4 dogs. So they stay in 2 separate kennels. But I think we maybe used 15 kennels last weekend for 20 dogs. But they're so wore out at the end of the day from playing all day, they go in their bed and they're pretty quiet. I mean, unless somebody comes in and they hear the door or something like that, they might bark for a few minutes, but then they just go right back to sleep. They're usually never unattended except for in the evening, but it would be no different than you going to bed with your dog at home. You know, they find their spot or you put them in their kennel and that's usually it.
I'll close the public hearing then at 4:16. And now we'll move into action on Plan 180106, Pause and Clause, conditional use within the B2 General Commercial District to allow a commercial kennel. Commissioners, I will note that it was pointed out to me, and I know Adam is aware of it, that in our current zoning code, and while we're kind of operating with the future zoning code kind of out there, this kennel use is technically not called out within that B2 General Commercial District. A variation of it is like an animal, you know, with some retail, and he's got some retail on there, so there's some kind of question on where does this ultimately get classified, right? It's a commercial kennel by definition, I think, but there's a question, and I know in our future zoning code, it allows this use in the B2. So I'm not sure if I'm affected by that personally as a commissioner. I mean, I think, you know, if we're looking at our future zoning code, probably not a change to that particular use. It's going to follow this process. So I just wanted to point that out since it was brought to my attention in the last couple of days. Joe?
Like the other plan, Adam had worked up some staff recommendations, and I'd like to read those if I could. The conditions recommended are that the conditional use is granted to allow the operation of a commercial kennel with accessory retail and grooming services. The maximum number of dogs shall not exceed 50 at any one time. Dogs must be at least 8 weeks of age. Dogs must be vaccinated. Dogs must be spayed and neutered. The outdoor play area kennel shall only be utilized from the hours of 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Dogs shall not be outside unsupervised. Any outdoor area shall be screened by a minimum 6-foot wood or vinyl privacy fence. Waste shall not accumulate for more than 24 hours, and waste shall not be run off into the storm water sewer. No more than 20 dogs shall be outside at any one time. No whistles or sound applications shall be utilized outside. Number 4, dog waste shall be collected throughout the day, both inside and outside, placed in plastic bags, and placed in closed containers. The waste shall be disposed of at a landfill a minimum of once per week. Number 5, required emergency exits from the facility shall not open into a fenced-in area. Number 6, wastewater from washing of the facility and bathing of the animals shall be properly routed into the sanitary sewer system. Number 7, the kennel, grooming, and retail area shall only be open to the public from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Drop-off and pickup time shall only occur during the hours the facility is open. Number 8, the second floor of the facility shall not be utilized for residential use without prior approval from the building inspector and fire marshal. And number 9, compliance with all other applicable codes and ordinances.
Thanks, Joe. All right, commissioners, open the floor. Are there any other, Tom raised a question that I meant to ask, or was going to ask, related to sales of animals, and I think we've got that dealt with. That was my primary concern. My secondary concern was, generally the site used to be fairly sightly, a good-looking site. There's a lot of pavement on the site, so it's hard to make it look really attractive, but, just some sort of thought or eye to landscaping. Obviously, you're going to run a business out of it, so you're going to want it to look nice and all that good stuff. So I trust that you're going to do what you need to do to clean it up and make it a nice looking building. Such a visible building to begin with, right? So that would be a concern. And I couldn't think of really a condition that I could see that reflected in other than maybe further screening, but I'm not sure if that really has a health, safety, welfare question anyway, so.
Yeah,
I'm
with
really
privacy,
asking.
I think that covers it fairly well.
Right, yep. Commissioners, other concerns or questions?
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Aaron to approve.
Second.
All right, we've got a second.
With the conditions.
With the conditions
Yes.
from Burkhart, thank you. Any other discussion or questions from anybody? Hearing none, we'll move into a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. That leaves us with adjournment.
Motion to approve.
Motion
to adjourn.
Motion by Tal, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Burkhart, all in favor? Aye. Stand adjourned. Thank you very much for being here.
Cards if you